Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Healthy and Whole
in Mind, Body, and Soul.
Today, we have an exciting guest. I'll let you know soon. Today's show is about men's health. It's their time. But we got a few words from our sponsors.
Well, our sponsors, first, we want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to Pastor Johnny Wyatt, Reverend Johnny Wyatt, and his First Lady, Sister Paulette Wyatt, for this. This is kind of their brainchild that they invited us to be a part of with the Brooklyn AFC 265 Church. If you're in the New York area, go check them out, or come back to the live channel here on YouTube and all the other streaming services. Also, we want to give a big shout out to, I call him Media Man Johnny, our behind the scenes production team.
Yes.
All of the bells and whistles is his job. So we thank God for his anointed hands, eyes, and ears to keep everything running real smooth. Thank you so much to all of them. And now we're going to get right into our show.
So this month, this beautiful month is all about men, men's health. Women get a lot of things, but today is all about you.
It's all about us. Men. That's right. So the title for our show, if any of you have seen the flyer, is Men's Health. This is our moment. Mm-hmm. This is our moment. So we're going to talk about why this is our moment. And I'm going to switch roles real quick, and we're going to get into it. She said she had a surprise guest, so I'm going to let her introduce the guest.
So our surprise guest today is Dr. Leonard Presley Jr. He is out of Lexington, South Carolina, and we're going to let him give his accolades.
I don't know about accolades, but I'm the special guest for this week, for this month. For those of you that don't know my background, I am a physical therapist. I graduated with my doctorate in physical therapy in 2006. I have been in clinical practice for 15 years, going on 16 years. Yes. And I've practiced in every setting with the exception of pediatrics. I've had the opportunity to work with some of the best minds in healthcare, had a chance to do a lot of laboratory research, taught anatomy and physiology at the medical school. Yeah. So a lot of these things, even though it's not directly in my wheelhouse, I've made it a part of my wheelhouse because, contrary to popular belief, physical therapists have to treat the entire patient. So if your knee's hurting, but your blood pressure is high, that still concerns your physical therapist. So, needless to say, I am so glad to be here to talk about men's health.
Well, thank you, Dr. Presley. May I address you that way?
I hope so. I hope I didn't steal my degree.
Well, Dr. Presley, we're going to get right into the questions. The first question asks, what are the top health concerns of men today? Now,
the top health concerns, I'm going to rank the top three, the top health concerns here. Number one, one of the leading killers of men is cardiovascular health. Your heart, your blood vessels, your arteries, their condition, and how it works with your overall physiology. Number two, biggest concern is obesity and the syndrome of things like diabetes that result from that. Okay. And then you look at number three, I don't know if it's the numbers wise, if you have as much mortality, but when it comes down to it, one of the main concerns for men's health is prostate health, prostate cancer, because it is such a prevalent killer of men. And then you get into the cancers in general, colon cancer, lung cancer. Even now you've seen, I don't know if it's just more publicized, but you do see a higher rate of pancreatic cancer. So, but yeah, those are the top four. When you get cardiovascular health, obesity and the syndromes that come along with obesity, prostate cancer, and then kind of the rest of the cancers are right there with it. Yeah.
Correct. Okay. So number two is a very good question. Why do men die younger than women?
Because women aggravate our lives out. It's like, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
Just kidding. Calm down.
Look at the interviewer.
Calm down.
Yes, sir.
It's just a joke. Well, if you look at any studies, in most countries, the life expectancy of men is considerably, statistically, significantly shorter than women. Yes. And if you look at our society today, there are a few reasons for that. One is, I'm going to give you a background here. This is why I'm your guest. Every other show up until this point, we were able to find a subject matter expert who did just that.
Yes.
When we were looking around trying to find a men's health expert, doctor, like that's what they do.
Yes.
You don't find any.
Very difficult to find.
You don't find any. If you look up men's health clinic, it will always be reproductive health, and that's it.
Yes.
If you look up women's clinic, women get the whole kit and caboodle. They got all of the multi-level buildings and all of that sorts of stuff. They have their healthcare figured out.
Yes, sir.
But you know why? It's because there's a market for that. Mm-hmm. Us as men, we don't pursue our healthcare to the point where the healthcare field has had to cater specifically to our needs. Mm-hmm. We go to general physicians. We may go to the urologist if there's a prostate, if we know there's a diagnosed prostate thing going on. Yes. But other than that, it's specialists, and that's it. The internal medicine doctor, the gastric doctor, the cardiologist. But to have someone who is a centralized person to be an expert and specialize in the total health of men, it just really doesn't exist. And that's how I ended up being the guest, is because there's no subject matter expert. I'm not saying there's not doctors that don't know, but to find someone who is their expertise is men's health, we just didn't have one in our sphere, if you would.
That's right.
But so that's one of the biggest reasons, is because men are typically, either through culture or either through a myriad of other reasons, neglectful of their health care, especially going to the doctor. So that's going to lead to worse health outcomes, which is going to shorten your lifespan. So, and now then you get into the younger men who think they're invincible. So now you get more risk taking. And it could be something as far as jumping off a bridge for bungee jumping, racing cars, racing motorcycles. Young men are more likely to die from gun violence than women are by a far margin. So that takes years off that average life expectancy. But here's another thing I want to tell you about risk. It's all one thing to talk about risky riding motorcycles, jumping off of bridges. But the risky attitudes we take toward our health care is the same thing. We eat and do whatever we want with total disregard for, will this affect my life long term? So though all of those factors end up with the lack of access to healthcare. Usually it's volitionally. We just don't go to the doctor. Have risk-taking behaviors, whether it be risk-taking that causes immediate bodily harm, gun violence type stuff, or it's risk-taking in the fact that we disregard our health and have bad health habits early. All of those things take years off the back end of our lives when you average it out across the population. So that's why typically men, their life expectancy across the population will be seen as shorter than that of women.
That's good. Very detailed information. So the next question is, what can men do to stay healthy and prevent diseases?
Now, I want to jump back a little bit to that first question, the top concerns for men's health.
Yes.
If you go back through that list, cardiovascular health, obesity and the related syndromes, prostate cancer, lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, then you get into all of those. The one thing about all of those conditions from top to bottom is that when detected early, thanks to the advances in medical science and to the healing power of the good Lord, when caught early, all of those things are very, very successfully treatable.
Yes.
But here's the caveat. When caught early, this is the first step that men have to take in order to take charge of our healthcare, is be very involved and engaged. Treat it as a priority, not a must-have on the bottom of the honey-do list.
Yeah.
Because if they catch the prostate cancer early, when you get that first PSA, we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yes.
When you get that first PSA level, or when you get your cholesterol checked and it's changed from the time you were 28 until 32, when you see that blood pressure, when you're getting your yearly physical and that blood pressure is high over 2 or 3 readings, and the doctor's saying we may need to intervene, either through diet or medication. Now those things can be treated and you head off the really catastrophic event early. So the first thing we have to do is be engaged in our healthcare. It has to become a part of who we are. It has to become a primary concern for men. Typically and culturally, men are providers, protectors, leaders, right?
Yes.
And we should. Why the eye roll? Are you guys seeing the eye roll?
That's how it is.
She knows it. See, but
Dr. Presley, continue, please.
Yeah, don't get me started on a whole deal there. But traditionally in society, that's how we're seen. And that's the role we attempt to fulfill. And in order to fulfill those roles, culturally, we're supposed to, and I'm saying supposed to because these are the cultural norms that are usually either verbally or just kind of implied that this is what we're supposed to be.
Men,
We're supposed to be invincible. We're supposed to be strong. We're supposed to be never sick. We're supposed to be always available. Don't complain. This is your job.
That's what I grew up knowing.
Yeah, there you go. Me as well. You know, it was seen almost, people were, you know, men were talked about if they went to the doctor a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, they were. I mean, and, you know, my parents probably didn't know I heard these conversations sitting in the back of the car. I'm not saying this is my, you know, but adults, you hear these conversations. Yeah, he's always in the doctor's office. I don't know what's going on with him. So it reflects negatively on you, or it has. But we have to change that perception, because if we as men don't take charge of being engaged every day in managing our health care, then we're, by proxy, we are negating or disregarding or lessening our ability to fulfill those other responsibilities.
So you're talking to men in general.
Yes, men in general.
Because you're a man to let them know.
And I'm talking to me. I have to have this talk with me.
Yes.
And I'll give you a personal anecdote. One of my vices from a dietary standpoint was Mountain Dew. Mm-hmm. I loved it. I would go through a 12-pack of Mountain Dew a day. Now, when I think back on it now, it's awful. But after our second son, Christian, was born, I was walking by the refrigerator one day, and I saw his picture on the side of the refrigerator. And I'm going to call it the Holy Spirit, because I'm not this conscious, to look at that picture and said, if you don't change this, you're not going to be around to be the dad he needs you to be. Wow. Now, it didn't tell me I was going to die. It could have just been that I got diabetes, lost a leg, had to go on dialysis. So now I can't be the father to him, be present. So
it looks like this epiphany.
Yes.
Stopped the progression of something that could have taken.
It gave me a why. Yeah. It gave me a reason. That was the first real realization that if I don't take ownership and be an active participant in ensuring my good health, then I'm not going to be able to fulfill the traditional roles that I told a man was supposed to be.
Right.
So how can you say you're a provider and protector if you're not healthy enough to provide or protect?
Men, this is coming from a man's mouth. A man's mouth. We'll continue with that.
I heard this line in a song where this one this rapper was kind of playing like he was talking or mentoring a young man, and the young man was saying that he's in the streets, gun violence. He's in the streets, and he's not to let anybody disrespect him. And he said, so who's going to watch out when you're dead? Who's going to watch out for your little girl? Your respect?
Right.
So when you are strong and seen as invincible and bulletproof and never going to the doctor and so busy you're handling all of yours, and then you end up in the hospital, that machismo, that ego is not going to provide or protect for your family.
And it's not going to help you get back
and
up
it's not going to help. It's not going to help. So the first thing we have to do is change our thinking in the way we approach healthcare, away from it being this optional, maybe I'll do it, secondary, tertiary, quaternary thing that's way on the back of the list, to the primary thing.
Now that we know that you're in healthcare, tell us how accessible healthcare is now for men or not, because some men do not want to try because it's so much rigmarole.
And that's very true. I can speak for me as a man, and I think I can take some liberties for other men that may be watching. We like things that are ordered, sequential, outcome. Start, middle, finish. So if I've got my day planned out, my routine planned out, start, middle, finish, you throw a doctor's appointment in there, you throw a monkey wrench in my plans. I don't like that. But now, this is one of the reasons we chose for a topic, this is our moment. Because at this point in history, healthcare has never been more affordable, open, or accessible.
Okay.
Now, with the advent of all of, the Affordable Healthcare Acts, the market exchanges, insurers being, coming up with all of these plans to accommodate, healthcare has never been more affordable. There's people getting healthcare and their premiums, if the incomes are right,
driven, yes,
their premiums are $0 a month.
Wow.
And preventative care is free.
That's right. It's 100% covered.
So going to get an annual physical is free now. There's no charge. So, and the biggest, if most men would make a habit of having routine annual preventative physicals, we would see such an impact in how early these things are detected and how much we know to change our habits and our ways if we would just do that. So now healthcare is so accessible. So one, from a cost standpoint. Two, from a scheduling standpoint. Now, telehealth. Your doctor can call you and have a video conference right there, and that's your doctor's appointment. They go through your histories, they ask you about your symptoms, and now even with blood work, say if you have to have blood work, you, in the days gone, you would have to go in and get your blood drawn. Well, now with these mobile labs,
You're right.
they'll send
right about that.
they'll send the phlebotomist, the person that draws your blood, to your house, to your job. We did
I've experienced that.
We did life insurance recently.
Mm-hmm.
The young lady came to my job. I clocked out for 15 minutes. She drew my blood, did my weight, did my measurements. She was gone. I went back to work.
Wow.
So now there's no
excuse anymore.
It's more financially accessible. It's more convenient because now the healthcare comes to you, and the world has never been more open to healthcare.
Wow.
We're hopefully on the backside of the COVID-19 public health crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Healthcare in general is wide open and running at full capacity to make society healthy right now. This is our moment, men, to take advantage of the convergence of these three factors: financial accessibility, technological accessibility, and just the overall pervasive open nature of healthcare right now, to engage and take control of our health. That's what we have to do. It doesn't go any farther than that. If we do that, there's enough expertise, there's enough medical science, there's enough treatment options out there to get us where we need to be or headed in that direction. But we have to take charge.
Well, Dr. Presley, men's health.
Right.
Listen to you talking. You're saying that men don't have a specific doctor. They have to go to a gastrologist and all the different ones. The question that I have for you is, what can men do if they don't have a doctor?
This is a tough one, because me as a man, I don't like shopping for people. You know what I mean?
Wow.
You know, because to me, and if I can't speak for you, I'm sorry, but that once I meet you as a doctor, I don't want to have to keep interviewing doctors, because again, that adds to the cumbersome feeling of it, and I don't like cumbersome. Okay, I like things to be very fluid and smooth. But again, here comes technology, here comes medical science, here comes society. The same way you can look up reviews on hotels and restaurants, you can look up reviews on doctors.
You're right.
You put in your zip code of your city, you put in the type of doctor you're looking for, and now you can look at reviews from people like you about this doctor's manner, their availability, blah, blah, blah. And now will you have to maybe try a few until you find one? I've been in Lexington 8 years. I'm on my third doctor.
Yeah.
And one of them I left just because the billing office could never get my bills right.
But this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Men don't want to have to deal with that.
It's complicated. I don't like complicated. Unless it's a car that I get to understand and I can enjoy. Healthcare is not immediately gratifying like getting a car running or the mechanical nature of something I fix and it works. That's immediate gratification. Healthcare isn't that. So that complication feels unnecessary and cumbersome. But look at the ratings, ask around, and then you just got to go out and find a doctor. You got to go out and talk to people. Now,
what type of doctor?
Because men don't have one, it's going to be either a family medicine doctor or what we call a general physician or general practitioner. Okay. Because then that's that general kind of gatekeeper where they just do your overall screenings, preventative health, and they send you to a specialist. Okay. That's what OBGYNs do. Yeah. They screen based on the specific things that affect women. The OBGYNs are women doctors, for those that may not know that acronym. So they screen you for specific things, and then they send you to a specialist if it's something that is beyond their scope. Okay. But that's your entry point. That's the entry point for women. We don't have that specialist.
That specialist for men.
But we can get a general practitioner, a family medicine doctor. And when they say family medicine, it doesn't mean that the whole family has to go there.
Right.
That just means this is a person that does general medicine and is the gatekeeper to refer you to where you go. Okay. Read the reviews, ask for recommendations, and then just endure the interview process. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's okay.
Well, Dr. Presley, what types of health screenings can men do on themselves without going to the doctor? If there's any. Okay.
And now when you think about, if you watched the show on women's health, there were certain things that women could do to screen and see when their body's changing.
That's correct.
There's not many of those that men can do.
Really?
No. There's not many, touch myself, and there's not a lot of that I can do. But what we have to look out for is if anything changes in the way my body functions.
Okay.
Just paying attention. Again, this goes back to engaging and taking ownership of health, because if you take on your health, you are acutely aware of when things are changing.
Right.
If you are very in tune with your health, you know, wait, I've had this headache lingering off and on for 2 or 3 days. Something's going on.
Yeah.
But if you're not engaged, you just keep taking Tylenol or Advil and keep going, not knowing that that headache that's lasted 3 days is a sign probably of really high blood pressure that could be the precursor to a stroke.
Wow.
But you're not engaged in your healthcare, so you just take an Advil and keep moving.
Right.
But if you're engaged, this headache's lasted off and on for a day or two. I need to do something about this. And now this may be people may find this a little queasy, a little gross, but when you go to the bathroom, pay attention.
Yes.
Because what comes out will give you a sign of what is going on inside. If your urine is a weird color, if it's dark, if it's cloudy, if there's any blood or pain with urination, that needs to be addressed.
How do you know if there's blood in your urine? Because some people have darker urine.
Well, first of all, if you have very dark urine, go to the doctor.
Okay.
Because that's not normal.
You heard it from the expert.
That's not normal. Now, I gained that insight because my mom worked in dialysis forever. So changes in your urine or your urinary habits need to be checked on. And see, these are not screens as you have to actually do something. Our screening is just paying attention. Okay. If you notice that instead of getting up once a night to go to the bathroom, now I'm getting up 3 times a night to go to the bathroom, and I never feel like I'm finished going.
You know, these little nuggets that you're giving us, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
You know, as women, we are aware of everything. So as soon as something goes different, we're always running to the doctor.
Right.
And you're correct about that. And
I'm going to pause on the symptoms check for a minute. You just made a point that women are acutely aware and always go to the doctor. Well, that's almost built in with women. Because as they start their menstrual cycle and those sorts of things, you start with doctors then.
Yes.
To make sure things are normal, blah, 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 blah. And it just kind of becomes a part of expected what you do. Men don't have that moment in life where their body changes that way.
I never thought about that.
So there's nothing to say, hey, go to this person and make sure this is normal.
Yeah. We
don't ever have that point. So then we just keep going through life until we get smacked in the face by a health concern. And now it's a lot of times too late to really change it.
It's like you need a specialist for men that can tell you, okay, at 7 years old, you need to go check this. At 13, you're going to start puberty. You should go check this. Wow.
So, and now back to our symptoms check.
Yes.
If your urinary habits change, if the color or consistency of your urine changes, you need to get that. You need to take some concern. If there's ever blood in your urine, definitely in your stool, check it out. Don't just dismiss it as hemorrhoids. Don't just dismiss it as, oh, the toilet paper's too rough. Yeah. You know, or especially if it lasts over a couple of days or a couple of weeks, always get it checked. If your bowel habits change, you know, some people may see it as nasty, but when you have a bowel movement, it makes sense to kind of look at the work that you did. Because if it's really, really dark, if it looks like coffee grounds, you know, people might not know this, but there's such a thing as coffee ground stool. That's a sign that you're bleeding in your intestines. Wow. And that thing that looks like coffee ground is actually dried blood in your intestines. Oh my. So paying attention, so we get away from the urine, the bowel movements, those sorts of things. But if you notice, if I go up and down the stairs 3 times, I could do that prior without an issue. But now I'm huffing and puffing and I got to sit down and take a break. That could be a sign that your cardiovascular health is changing. Yeah. Your endurance is changing. Yeah. You know, now this one will get every man to the doctor, or at least Googling it quickly. When reproductive stuff changes, oh my gosh, everything changes. Wow. We'll call a doctor quick when that happens. When the reproductive stuff starts, no, wait, hold on, something's going on. But you shouldn't want to wait till then. But usually those things start going wrong because other things have been going wrong and we've never dealt with it. Yeah. High blood pressure that goes untreated, diabetes that's undiagnosed, high cholesterol or out of control stress and anxiety. Those are things you got to talk about. Cardiovascular health that is unchecked and not dealt with. All of those things will get a man to the doctor once it manifests as a reproductive issue. But by that point, the thing that caused that issue is so far deep into. And even if it's treatable, it could have been treated earlier. Yes. So Those are the things we should watch out for, but there's not an out and out, okay, screen this thing to figure it out.
Thank you, Dr. Presley. Before you mentioned about prostate, and you mentioned about PSA. What is my prostate and why is its health important to me? Okay, so what is your prostate? The prostate gland, you don't have one of those. The prostate gland is a part of your reproductive system. And I'm hoping we're all adults here. So remember, we're medical now. This is medical stuff. So in the reproductive processes for a man, you have the reproductive cell, which is sperm, and then you have the fluid that carries it. That's called seminal fluid. The prostate makes that seminal fluid. Okay. Now, so if you think about it, men, I'm going to give you an insight on your physiology. Our bodies do that all the time. That never shuts off. From birth till death. Like we don't go through womenopause. Like y'all go through menopause. We don't go through womenopause. That's just what we do. So any part of your body that is that active, it is more predisposed to having cancer. Because in order for an organ or a vessel to be that active, it has to divide the cells over and over. Cancer is basically a malfunction of that dividing process to where it gets out of control. So prostate cancer is basically those cells that are rapidly dividing, they start dividing out of control, and now they invade healthy tissue. They move around, they get into the lymph system, the blood system. So that's what the prostate is. And that's why it's predisposed to prostate cancer, because it is a very active, the level of cellular activity is very high because of its reproductive processes. So therefore they're predisposed to the cancer. Wow. That's a lot. Well, that was anatomy right there.
Yeah.
Because you told us that you taught anatomy.
I taught anatomy and physiology for 7 years. I love it.
Well, Dr. Presley, let's switch gears a little bit. This is another question. We all feel down from time to time. What are some indicators that men are feeling depressed or anxiety or any of those things? How can they tell for themselves? Because sometimes people just push through everything. Right. You know?
Right. And we as men are taught, just push through. You'll be all right. That's a term. You even hear me say that a lot.
Yes, you do.
You're like, babe, what's wrong? I'll be all right.
Yes, you do.
Because we're taught that whatever load you have to carry to bear your responsibilities, you just carry it. Don't ask anybody, don't complain about it. There's a difference in complaining and addressing. Complaining is just, I'm saying it just to say it and I don't want to do anything about it. When you address something, you address it in a very logical, measured approach to improve the situation. Okay. The same things that you see with any depression anywhere, the same symptoms, same signs. If you begin to withdraw from things that you were usually engaging in, if you notice yourself not, even if you're still doing it, but you're not finding joy in it, you need to step back and assess what's going on. If you have leisure activities that you always made a way to go engage in, but you stop doing those things, you don't find joy in it, you don't even want to do it anymore, then you need to check up. If your relationships begin to not matter as much, you're just going through motions, you need to really check on it. But for men, we don't think about depression, but we won't say the word depression.
Stress?
We'll say we're stressed.
I've heard that.
And that stress, a lot of times for men, is built from anxiety. Because we feel the burden of trying to be the provider, the protector, the strong one, the one who's always going when everybody else is stopped.
Right.
So you're always trying to live up to that standard. It puts a lot of anxiety on you. It puts a lot of stress. But here's the thing. Life itself is stress. It's how we deal with it that matters.
That makes sense. If
we just continue to try to pack it down, then that's when we get, and a lot of the health-related issues we talked about, if you look, almost all of them, if I'm correct, almost all of them have stress listed, chronic stress listed as a risk factor. Cardiovascular disease, obesity, and because with obesity, when you have chronic stress, your stress hormone, cortisol, goes up.
Yes.
When cortisol is constantly high, your body holds on to
all the extra fat.
Calories, it's fat production, which then has all the other deleterious health effects you talk about.
Yeah.
Cancer. Cancer is linked to high levels of chronic stress.
Wow.
So we as men...
Would you say that's the reason why cancer is so high now?
Yes. Because we live in such a stress-based society. Because everybody feels stressed to perform, to get things done, to compete, to earn, to succeed. So yeah, it burns us out. But for men, when you notice that the things that mattered don't begin to matter as much, when the things you do don't bring you the same joy or fulfillment they used to, even if you're still doing them, when emotionally you're detached from things that used to be important to you, you really need to go and see somebody and talk about that. Because that's a sign that the chronic stress, the chronic anxiety is really now built to a point where you're not going to continue to survive doing that. It's very dangerous. Wow. It's extremely dangerous.
So what do you say, if it were you and you were going through these things, what are steps you would take to help yourself deal with the stress, figure out what the stresses are? What would you do?
The first, and one of the privileges I have and have always had, is that my family unit and the church body I belong to is a body of believers where there's somebody that I feel that I can go and, even if it's not get an answer, I can at least get some kind of insight, some kind of listening ear. Because one of the biggest things with stress is that stress being present is normal, but stress that is unarticulated, that you don't ever talk about, that you don't ever share, that you just try to hide, that's the stress that becomes a decaying effect on you. It starts to just wear you down, if you will. So finding someone to talk to,
it almost sounds like a therapist. It could be a therapist or a counselor.
Yeah, we had Mental Health Month last month.
Yes.
Men, talking to a counselor is not a bad thing. It doesn't mean you're less of a man. No. It means that you understand that you are a man.
Yes.
You're human.
That's right.
You're not invincible. Even Superman had stress.
Yeah, he went to Lois.
Lane. Or he went to that place in that ice castle place up north to get away. Or he flew off into space. Even Superman had to get away from stress.
Right.
Just saying. So, first thing you have to do is articulate it to somebody, talk to somebody, get some perspective. And even if they can't give you a solution, men, I'm saying this because I'm this way, even if you don't walk away with a solution, being able to say it matters.
Okay.
Getting it off you matters. Talking to someone matters. And I think, and this is not, I'm not a professional, but this is just my thought. When you know someone cares enough to listen, it makes your burden easier to bear because you think it's somebody there to help you bear it.
Right.
Yeah. But if you feel that nobody cares to listen to what I want to say, then that burden feels heavier than it already is. It's like lifting weights.
But there's some men out there that don't have that.
That's very true. So talking to a professional therapist. If you're not, and this is where I'm going to my faith here. I'm going to the church. If you're not a part of a church, get into a Bible-believing, loving church congregation. Yeah. God created the church for just these moments, so that those that are strong in the moment can bear those that are weak in the moment.
Yes.
Now, that scripture says that the strong bears the infirmities of the weak.
Yeah.
Those positions are not permanent.
That's correct. I'm glad you said that.
The strong are not always going to be strong.
That's right.
We're supposed to be reciprocal in this.
Okay.
I help you when you're weak. You help me when I'm weak. Get you a church congregation. Get you a church family. Find a professional therapist. Call a family member. Do something. But just don't sit there and think I should push through.
Wow.
You shouldn't. We can't do that.
Okay. Case study. Are you ready for a case study, Dr. Preston?
I didn't come for class now. I didn't want no tests.
All right. This is the case study, everyone. I am an African-American man. Are there special health concerns I need to be aware of?
Yes.
And what are they?
Okay. Let me go.
Yes, stretch out.
Into our
culture. You need to know this.
Here.
Yes.
Now, there are so many factors that affect African-American men. And there's so many reasons why they affect us. One is our culture. we're taught to be very strong. We're taught to just be men, be manly, strong men. Don't complain, just deal with it. 2, there is a systemic socioeconomic impact that you cannot deny. When you look back over our history in this country, we have been exposed to very, very bad diets out of necessity.
Right.
You know, I can remember my grandmother told me about killing a hog, and I like pork, so I don't even go there. If you don't like it, that's you, but I eat mine in moderation. Okay. But she would say you eat everything from, as she would say it, from the rooter to the tutor.
I heard you say that before.
That means from the nose to the tail, you eat everything in between, because there was no option. That you had to make use of everything you got a hold of. There was no consideration as to how healthy this is for me.
Wow.
It's food on the table, so you eat it. Food on the table, and when you're socioeconomically not very stable or strong, then you get the food that you can afford. Very cheaply made food or very cheap, readily available food is usually not very nutritious food.
Right.
So historically, that is the food that has been staples of our diet. Now you add into that the genetic predisposition. That's number 3. We are genetically predisposed to certain things, and there's no getting around from it. Case in point, I was able to sit in on a study by Dr. Omar Bagazra, who's an immunologist, pathologist, one of my favorite mentors. He's doing a lab study. And one thing he told me, he was studying zinc in the African American male and how it affected the prevalence of prostate cancer. Because a zinc deficiency is linked to prostate cancer.
Okay.
Well, as he started to do this study, what he found was that for most of the African American samples he tested, genetically, our ability to take up or to take in and digest zinc is what we call down-regulated.
Wow.
Our body doesn't take it up as readily as other people. Well, why is that? Let's go way back to the motherland. Africa is rich in zinc. Everything we ate had zinc in it because zinc was in the ground.
Right.
So guess what our bodies did? It didn't need to take it up as readily because it was everywhere.
Already there, right.
Take that zinc down regulation because of the environment in Africa and drop it in America that is not rich in zinc.
Right.
Now guess what? You have a zinc deficiency that is not accommodated or that is not taken up through diet.
Wow.
So now you have a predisposition.
It's almost like a circle of life.
It's a circle of life. So genetic predispositions. Look at our genetic predispositions to heart issues, to obesity. You know, these things exist.
I've read statistically, not just African American men, but African American people in general have heart disease, diabetes, all those things that most people don't have to worry about.
And they don't have it. They have it. It's just not as prevalent in their population.
Yes.
With us, there's a genetic predisposition. And then you couple that genetic predisposition with socioeconomic stresses, that's a good word for it, socioeconomic stressors, where if you grow up in a neighborhood, the closest health food store might be 20 miles away from you.
Yes, I've seen that. Food deserts.
So you look at the history, and I don't mean to get all socio-political here, but this is true. This affects our health. When you look at the restaurants, the food options that are predominantly found in our communities, they're not usually the healthiest things.
Right.
Even the things we cook in our homes, our soul food, what we have traditionally valued as food. And y'all, I love it. I love it.
I don't cook it.
Yeah, she did. Our first argument, I'll call it an argument. It was a spat.
Listen, I'm your interviewer. You can't talk about me.
I'm talking about you. Is when you didn't put bacon in the vegetables. You remember that?
I didn't grow up like that.
That's how we grew up cooking. But think about that. We can take a very healthy food because of our culture. We can take collard greens, which is in and of itself a extremely nutritious food. But by the time we add the salt, the pork, all of those things, the butter that makes it really good to us, we've taken something very healthy and made it extremely unhealthy. So you take in the cultural influences, the socioeconomic stressors, the genetic predispositions, and now all of those things have to be accounted for. But here, now that's all of the gloom.
Yes.
Let me give you the sunshine.
Give us, yes.
All of those things can be accounted for with preventative health care.
This is what we talked about.
If you go to the doctor regularly, you can find out how to manage these things. They refer you to dietary experts. And when you are aware of your health, you make better health-related decisions.
Yeah.
Do you know studies have found that people who exercise a little bit, it's not so much the exercise that helps them, it's the fact that if you're cognizant enough to exercise, your health becomes more important, and you become more aware. Mm-hmm. So that exercise influences you to make better health decisions.
You're correct.
And with your food, with your sleep, with your everything. Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing for us as African American men, yes, we have a lot of cards stacked against us, but the one, what's the best card in spades?
The Joker, the big Joker.
The biggest joker we got in our pocket is that if we are actively engaged in preventative health care, mm-hmm. we can head a lot of these things off at the pass and manage them and really savor our health and extend our quality of life across the lifespan.
That was good, Dr. Preston.
Thank you.
That was really good. Second case study. We're talking about non-Hispanics, mm-hmm. Latino men. Are there special concerns that they need to be aware of?
Yes. And interestingly enough, they are almost identical in many ways to the ones African Americans face. If you ever look at public health studies, they will say minority health. Mm-hmm. The largest two minority groups in this country are the African Americans and those of Hispanic or Spanish descent. Mm-hmm. Those groups share a lot: cardiovascular problems, obesity, diabetes, heart, cholesterol issues, prostate cancer issues. All of those, it's very, very similar. And the solutions are very, very similar. Healthcare engagement, mm-hmm. managing diet, mm-hmm. and then making good health decisions.
That's it.
There's the genetic predispositions we have, the socioeconomic stressors that we have can be overcome if we would actively engage in fighting them. It's that simple. That's why this is our moment, men. Listen, we have to be actively engaged in making sure we take ownership of our health, that we take the power back, mm-hmm. and stop letting health happen to us, mm-hmm. and let it and manage it.
Okay. You know, it just popped in my head. Mm-hmm. What about Caucasian men and Asian men? Mm-hmm. They also have stresses. Mm-hmm. They also have, we've seen a lot of men yes. in that population that are heavily overweight. Mm-hmm. How can they be helped as well? Because it sounds like we're just talking about minorities, but we could talk about everyone else. Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. Here's the thing. When we talk about minorities, majorities, we're talking about ethnicities and races.
Yeah.
But there's one race.
The human race.
Human race.
Yeah.
When I taught anatomy and physiology, I didn't teach Asian anatomy and Latino anatomy. I taught human anatomy.
Yes.
Human physiology. Yes. What that says is many of the same things that affects all of us. It's just our attitude toward managing it. When you see the differences in the health disparities, as they call them, mm-hmm. a lot of it's not so much what we are prone to or what's just happening to us. Mm-hmm. It's our traditional methods of managing or not managing it.
Okay.
Or access. Now, for a long time, minorities didn't have this, or still don't have the same access to healthcare.
Okay.
Don't have the same financial predisposition to make that healthcare available to us.
Yes.
So historically, these disparities have existed because of some systemic reasons. Okay. But there's nothing inherent to the person to say that we can't all achieve favorable health outcomes.
Yes.
But we have to engage. Now, again, this is our moment because now it's affordable, it's accessible, and we can make it happen.
Okay. Last question for you. As partners, how can we help our significant other, our grandpas, our sons, everyone, males, in their journey?
Right now, and this is just my opinion, is encourage, but don't nag.
Okay.
I know that probably didn't go down too easy for most women,
But it's the truth.
Again, I think the biggest hurdle for men when it comes to healthcare is fitting it into our routine and to all the other responsibilities we have. It's my responsibility to take care of everyone else, not to have someone take care of me.
Okay.
That's a big thing. And even if it goes unsaid, I need to look out for you. I'm not worried about me. But we have to worry about us, because if we don't worry about us, there you go.
Yeah.
So, but greasing the skids a little bit. What do I mean by greasing the skids? If you know that appointment's coming up, whatever the best way to remind them, me and you share a Google Calendar. If you know it's coming up and you see I didn't put it in the calendar, put it in the calendar and add a reminder so it pops up on my phone as well.
Okay.
Simple things. Hey, babe, remember your appointments next week. Say it one time. Don't keep saying it, because if you keep saying it every day, then it's going to be an issue.
Yes.
Okay. But that reminder, if I would say, babe, you know what? I got something going on at work. I can't make that appointment. Can you reschedule it?
Be there to help you.
And now, women, I'm telling you, I know it may seem like, oh, I got to do one more thing, but this will help. Because if we have to reschedule it, it's not going to happen. It's just not. I missed an appointment in March because of a work thing. I rescheduled the appointment. When I went for that appointment, the doctor canceled the appointment because of something that happened.
Yeah.
Have I rescheduled that appointment yet?
No.
No. Because I get caught up in it every day, just like women do. Women do the same thing. But we have to help each other. Okay? So that's the biggest thing, is just whatever level of communication y'all function at, use that to communicate very gently. Hey, you got an appointment coming up. And if we ask you to help, please don't make that difficult. Because not only will we avoid that conversation with you, we avoid the healthcare altogether. Because now it's already stressful enough for me to do that, but now it's stressful enough for me to deal with you and that. So I'm not dealing with any of it.
Wow.
If I'm talking for you and I'm wrong, I apologize, but that's just me.
I didn't think it was that deep within you guys.
I can speak for me. I take my role as the leader, the caretaker, the provider, the protector of the family. If anything is seemingly going to upset those responsibilities, then I have a tendency to see that as not necessary. Now, I'm learning that if I don't take care of me, then I can't take care of those things. So that changed it. But that's
so what are our takeaways? Give us 3 to 4 takeaways.
All right. So takeaways, man. This is our moment. No longer can the topic of our boy talk, our man conversation.
Talking to the camera. Let them see you. Let them see you.
So we can not only talk about sports and cars and women, we have to add another category. We have to normalize discussing, mentioning our health with each other. Because if this doesn't become a normal part of man life, then man life will continue to get worse from a health perspective. We have to. It is not optional. Healthcare and engaging healthcare, being concerned with healthcare, being mindful about our healthcare is not an option. It's necessary. It's mandatory. We will fall short of fulfilling our roles as men if we don't take care of ourselves as men. How much more influence could we have in society if we were here longer? How many more young men could be mentored if there were more older men that weren't sick and could do it? Wow. How many more mentors could be in the church if they didn't? Now, again, I'm not going to question and say God took them before their time, but I'm talking from a healthcare perspective. How many men do you know that didn't manage their healthcare conditions well and ended up leaving before they could have? They left, they died earlier than they could have. That's the first thing. We have to take ownership of this. It has to be normal for us. And don't see it as somebody taking power from you or you depending on someone else. You're accessing a resource made available to you. This is a tool, just like any tool in your toolbox. Johnny knows that if I go to Home Depot or Lowe's, the power tools, the drills, and so I love those things. This is a power tool that you cannot keep out of your toolbox.
That's great.
Managing your healthcare is not optional, it's mandatory.
Yes.
Number 2, anything that changes in regard to your body, don't ignore, don't push through, don't just deal with it. Go get somebody to look at it. If it's a back pain that's lasting longer than it should, headaches lasting longer than they should, changes in your bowel or urinary habits, changes in your energy levels, deal with it. Even if you notice your toenails changing faster than, everybody's toenails change.
Yeah.
But if you notice your nails are changing, like all of a sudden,
shade of color,
you need to go get that checked out. If you notice your heart rate's rapid after going up one flight of stairs, you need to go get that checked out. So let's go through number 1 again. This is not optional, it's mandatory. Number 2, any changes, be mindful of.
Yes.
Number 3, watch what you eat.
Okay.
Stress will lead to bad eating habits. And I'm not telling you to not ever eat what you want. What I'm saying is, don't eat it all the time. Case in point, I'm a big fan of a nighttime serving of cold milk and chocolate chip cookies. I love it. I grew up on it. But you know what I had to do? Again, because I was trying to be mindful of my health. I know I can't sit here and eat 15 cookies and milk. I can't do that. So I said, okay, how many calories can I reasonably afford doing this? Let's just say 300, maybe 300 to 500, maybe. That's a lot, but I'm a big guy. My caloric intake for the day is supposed to be pretty high.
Yes.
I could have 8 cookies and stay under 300 calories.
What?
Yes. Chocolate chip ahoy, Chips Ahoy. I think if I remember correctly, it's 7 or 8 cookies. It's like 300 calories.
I think I might have some cookies tonight.
So now, instead of laying in the bed and fighting with myself to not have any cookies, and then giving in and eating 15, I can eat 7 and still be okay.
Okay, let's get back to
watch what you eat. So how do you watch what you eat? I'm gonna hurry up and make this quick. How do you watch what you eat? Be mindful. I have an app on my phone that allows me to journal my food. It's very quick. Technology is great. I can scan packages. It automatically puts it in. If you do that for 2 weeks, I promise you will become more mindful of what you eat. Because now you're aware. You're not just mindlessly eating. When I started doing that and I realized that I ate 3 honey buns in a day, that was 600 calories a piece. Wow. Now think about it. My daily caloric recommended intake based on my body size and type is about 2,800 calories a day. I was going to say that, almost 3,000. Almost right at 3,000 calories a day. I had 1,200 just in honey buns.
And you'll be hungry 5 minutes later.
And I'm hungry 5 minutes. But I would have never realized that if I didn't journal my food for a couple of weeks.
Oh, that's a kicker.
So it's very simple to do. Take out your phone, put in a few things. You can scan packages, write it on sticky notes if you're a pen and pencil kind of person. But again, just because something is good for you or just because something is beneficial doesn't mean it'll ever be automatic. This will take effort. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. It will take effort, okay? And that doesn't mean it's bad. That doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means it's life.
And it's going to take time.
It's going to take time.
It's going to take time.
All right? And the final one is don't be afraid of the doctor. We as men don't like to be invaded. Men out there know what I mean. Most men's biggest fear is a prostate exam. I've had 2. I didn't like it. I'm just
gonna be honest. I don't know what a prostate exam is.
Well, y'all are women is different. Y'all are different.
You guys,
wait.
I was about to say, go research it.
Y'all are different. Y'all are different. We as men, that's hard for us. But listen, I would rather deal with that mentally taxing 5 minutes than the likelihood of something getting missed, and I cut 20 years off my time with my family. Weigh the options.
That's deep.
And this is real. I'm going to just be real with you right now. Just like the Navy SEALs endure the discomfort of training so that they can accomplish the mission.
Yes.
Endure the mental or that lump in your throat that you have to go through these procedures. Endure them so that you can accomplish the mission of being the leader, the husband, the father, the community strong person that God called you to be. So what are our 4 takeaways?
It's not optional.
This is not optional.
It's
this is mandatory. Number 2, if something changes, address it about your body. Number 3, watch what you eat. Be mindful. And number 4, don't be afraid of the doctor. It's a part of the mission. If you don't go through that, you can't accomplish your mission.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Presley. That was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I hope you guys got something from that. But this is the last tip that we have for you guys. The fit tip. We always close with that. So we talk about eating, but we're going to talk about a way to help you catch those calories. Slow.
Yeah.
Is it slow those calories?
Slow their roll.
Slow their roll. So Dr. Presley, get back into your regular role as my co-host.
Yes.
And tell us about this fit tip.
Our daily fitness tip. Easy things you can implement that help you stay fit in life, okay? So, 2 to 3 hours before bedtime, stop eating.
That's it?
That's it. Now, I didn't say before 9 o'clock. I said before your bedtime.
Yes.
Because you may go to bed at 7. I typically can go to bed until 10. Mm-hmm. So, 2 to 3 hours before, stop eating. Or limit your eating. Do what I did. And said, "Oh, I'm only going to consume 300 calories in this time frame." Yeah. What does that do? 2 things. When it makes your body go longer without intake. Mm-hmm. I know everybody hears about intermittent fasting. This is not intermittent fasting, but because you widen that window that your body's not having to digest food, your blood sugars regulate better. You give your body a chance to really speed up that digestion. Now your body becomes a better calorie burning machine.
Yes.
It's not intermittent fasting, but it's the same principle. Now, because if you usually eat right up until 7, and then you go to bed and you wake up at 5, that's how many hours.
Yes.
But now let's say you go to bed at 7, you stop eating at 5. You've added 2 hours that your body is having to burn calories and pull from reserves, so it's better for you.
Yeah.
Your body, your metabolism improves. The mechanics of your metabolism improve. Yeah. That's the first benefit. Number 2, if you shorten the window in which you eat by taking those 2 hours off, you decrease your total caloric intake for the day. Mm-hmm. It's a very simple tip, but it can have profound results.
Yes.
And it makes you more mindful. Mm-hmm. So, 2 hours before bedtime, do your best to stop eating or limit it very strictly.
2 to 3.
2 to 3. Okay. Limit your eating. That's our daily fit tip for this month.
So today's episode was men's health.
This is our moment.
This is your moment.
Let's go, men. Let's go. Let's go.
Yes. We're rooting for you, and we're here to help. So we're going to close this out.
All right. Well, thank y'all all for joining us. I hope y'all have been informative. I see a couple of quotes in the chat here. Thank you, Miss. I'm trying. If I butcher this, I'm sorry. Beatrice Rodriguez. He said, "God bless. Very informative. Men, open your eyes. Listen to the doctor. Take ownership of your life." Thank you for your comment. And Ms. Pamela Morrison said, "Very good information."
Thank you so much.
In future shows for those watching, if you have questions or comments, put them in the chat, because now that we're live, we got a way to monitor those, and hopefully we can be shorter next time and make sure we get those in.
Yes.
But thank you so much. Again, thank you to the AFC Brooklyn 265 Church, to the pastor there, Reverend John Heracula Wyatt Jr. and his wife, Sister Paulette Wyatt. Thank you to the production team, which consists of Brother John Morrison and his wife, Sister Pamela Morrison, that came up with the beautiful flyer. Thank you for all that you do, for all the support that you give us. Thank you for all those watching. We hope God blesses you. Take ownership of your health, and it will help us all be more healthy and whole
in mind, body, and soul. Have a great evening.
We'll see y'all next time, okay? Be blessed.